Szanowni Państwo, zapraszamy i dziękujemy Państwu za punktualność. Zapraszamy tych, którzy są w okolicy, bo to jest ten moment, kiedy już za chwilę rozpoczynamy. Dzień dobry raz jeszcze. Hello, hello again. Moderatorką tej sesji, Szanowni Państwo, jest pani Barbara Leonardi. Bardzo mi miło i bardzo się cieszę. Oddaję wobec tego głos. The floor is yours. The time is yours.
Dziękuję bardzo. Dzień dobry. Hello and good afternoon. It is my pleasure to welcome you to this session about younger myeloma patients. And my guests are fantastic colleagues and experts. We have Ailey Duncan with us from Myeloma Patients Europe, who will present a report. We have... Thank you. We have Snežana Doder from a Serbian Myeloma Patients Association. And we have Rahul Gupta, who is a young myeloma patient currently living and undergoing treatment here in Poland, and he will share his personal perspective. As you know, myeloma is considered an illness of elderly patients. However, as many as 10% patients are under 50 at the moment of the diagnosis, and 37% of myeloma patients were diagnosed when they were under 65. So this is quite a significant group of patients, and our concern is that this group is not fully understood, and maybe their needs are not well explored. So before we begin, let's start with a poll question. So please take your remote controls and we will vote. I want to ask you, at what age were you diagnosed? Czyli w jakim wieku zdiagnozowano u Państwa chorobę? Czy mniej niż 40 lat, 40-50, 50-65, czy powyżej 65 roku życia? Okay. 10 sekund. So let's wait and let's see what our audience will say.
System liczy. System is working. Yes, it is a fact.
So yes, as we can see, quite many of you, a lot of our audience was diagnosed very early, between 40 and 50, 44%, and between 50 and 65, 41%. So as we can see, our group is not very representative to what is the common understanding of myeloma. And with this, I would like to hand over to Ailey Duncan to present the report.
Thank you so much, Barbara. It's a pleasure to be here today and to be able to share with you some of the work that we've been doing at Myeloma Patients Europe, looking at the needs of younger myeloma patients. So as Barbara said, there's a significant proportion of myeloma patients who are dealing with a myeloma diagnosis and treatment alongside trying to work, trying to raise their families. And we, a couple of years ago now at Myeloma Patients Europe, wanted to commission some research because we had seen that there was a limited focus on this younger age group. We wanted to do some work that would provide robust evidence to address the gap in knowledge, and we wanted to identify what the unmet needs were for younger people living with myeloma. So we commissioned a research team led by Professor Liz Forbat at the University of Stirling in Scotland, and we're pleased to show you the results of this today. And they're also available within our report, which Barbara kindly showed as well. So to talk to you about how the work was done, there were two phases to this research. The first phase was a literature review where we intended to find and synthesize what published evidence there was out there on how myeloma affects working age people in paid and unpaid roles. So those might be voluntary roles or in terms of caregiving or household management. The next phase was interview study. And we did this to explore the experiences of working age myeloma patients and their families in 3 countries that share borders but have different healthcare systems and different demographics. So we recruited patients from the Czech Republic, from Germany, from Poland, to find out more about the challenges across this region. So I'm just going to touch briefly on the phase 1 findings. So this is the literature review, but if you want to find more information on this work, the published academic paper is shown at the top there, and the QR code will take you directly to the paper if you want some more details. But one thing I did want to highlight from this work is that the team looked at nearly 7,000 studies to try and find evidence on what myeloma patients who are younger, who are working, what was impacting them. And from that review of 7,000 studies, there was only 34 that were included within the literature review. And within that 34, there was actually only 1 paper that had a dedicated focus on the impact on work. So it's clear that there's an evidence gap here and a need for further research to better support patients. I'm not going to go into the findings from the literature review. Some of these are echoed in the interview studies, but if you want more details, as I said, the paper's there. And those are the 4 key findings from the literature. So now, going on to the interviews that were done with patients and with family members. So we had 36 patients and 3 family members take part in interviews across the 3 countries. There was an age range of 24 to 65 with an average age of 52. And I'm going to talk through the 3 overarching themes that were found within the interviews. So firstly, looking at systems, structures, and services. The 3 countries all have state support, but there was varying satisfaction from patients about how that was working for them. And in fact, satisfaction with treatment was lowest in Poland. Patients talked about the complexities of trying to navigate the system and trying to find what they're eligible for. In particular, holistic care was very difficult to access. And patient organizations were talked about as being very important to help patients navigate the systems. And this is an example of one of the Polish patients talking about the entitlement to the sanatorium. There's a regulation that these are only available for people after 3 years of the disease being cured, and with a relapse and remitting incurable condition like myeloma, it means that patients are not able to access these. And as the patient says, these could be really helpful in terms of accessing physiotherapy to help after fractures, but also in terms of giving a break to the rest of the family as well. Another theme from the interviews was about reconciling illness with work. So the degree to which people were able to work was dependent on the symptoms they experienced, the burden of these and the burden of treatment, as well as the financial strain and the pressures to continue to work. And accessing state benefits was a further complexity, causing confusion, and people were ending up unsure of what they were entitled to, and some patients were missing out from this. And you can see the variation in patients' experiences across the 3 countries on the quotes on the slide. There's quite a complicated system in Poland of different types of benefits that patients need to navigate. But then in Germany, the process feels much more straightforward. They just fill out an application and they have coverage. Another aspect of working with myeloma diagnosis is around discrimination and stigma that patients may face in the workplace. For many patients, support was present, but we also heard about discrimination and a lack of trust in employers to abide by regulations. Here's an example from a young man in Poland who talked about having a job offer. But when the new company learned that they had myeloma, they were told not to join. So this is a case of clear discrimination, but it's something that would be quite tricky to prove. But patients in Germany shared that they felt more protected by legislation and the benefits from that. In terms of managing to continue to work, lots of people were able to continue to work due to accommodations, but where these were lacking in a company, it was no longer possible for some people. The last theme I was going to talk about was patients talking about the impact of living with a chronic and incurable disease. So myeloma affects the whole family and leads to a reorganization of family life. And with this reorganization comes changes to relationships. And some may shift, some break down, some change for the better or for the worse. And there's two examples here of how myeloma affects relationships. The first is around a husband and wife relationship and the difficulties that they're experiencing. And the bottom one there is about the journey of experience that a family has gone through and how things are feeling more normal after some time. So lastly, I just wanted to talk through some of the recommendations that we have based on the research that's been done. So in terms of research, as I said, there's a gap there. There's more evidence needed to be able to better understand the needs of younger myeloma patients. We found that research wasn't great at reporting the participants' ages within the methods, and that's something that makes it difficult to know who's been included and who's been left out. There's also, we had 3 carers take part in the interview study, but there's clearly a big impact on the wider family, and some more research on that would be beneficial. In terms of policy, there needs to be review and improvement of the disability and benefits process. For a relapse and remitting condition like myeloma, it needs to be less bureaucratic and bothersome for patients. Some of these systems are just not fit for purpose. We also need to see better legal protections and better enforcement of employer policies. And as mentioned, there's the sanatorium issue within Poland as well. And then what it means for practice. So when clinicians and patients are having those treatment decision-making conversations, there's a need to talk about work and what it means to patients and what their preferences and priorities are. Patients need to have help to access holistic care. Support for return to work was also mentioned as something that was lacking. And then family and couples therapy is something that could be extremely beneficial to help with the relationship shifts that come with a diagnosis. Thank you.
Thank you, Ailey. Do you know what was my initial thought after I read the report? It's like, this is not surprising because we have all experienced that. But now we have it on the paper. We have the data. I know that what I experienced, it was not an isolated case. This is something every younger myeloma patient is going through. So now we will listen to 2 stories of younger myeloma patients. First, Snežana.
Thank you, Barbara. I'm very glad and honored to be here and to share my perspective with you. And this is a little bit different story than usually myeloma patient had. Why it is different? Because first I didn't diagnose with myeloma. My journey started with breast cancer in October 2021. And it was discovered by occasion, so it was just regular checkup on yearly basis, and I discovered breast cancer. After that, I had 2 operations, and I didn't have the chemotherapy, I have the radiation therapy, because it was in the very early stage discovered, so it was not so hard for me to let's say, go through this. And during this period, I was not so confused, not so feared, because I was already know something about breast cancer. So this is difference when you are diagnosed with some cancer which is famous, yeah, everybody knows about breast cancer. But after that, during this journey, I was sent to hematologist to check up my results, blood results, and something went wrong. And I discovered my second diagnosis, and this was myeloma. When they told you that you're having myeloma, first you don't know what they are talking about. Especially I was 46 years old, and I never heard about myeloma, to be honest. And then you go, first thing you go to the Google doctor, of course, not to the hematologist, unfortunately, most of us, and to see what is it. And what you can read on the unofficial, let's say, website is really terrifying. And then my fear a little bit starts, not so like with the first cancer, and everything is happening in a couple of months, actually, in 4 months. Then after that, I had in the same, let's say, period of time, I had the radiation therapy, and I have my first treatment for myeloma, VTD protocol. It was, and in the middle, for example, it happens that in one day, in the morning I have Velcade, and in the afternoon I had radiation. And between I have some meetings and or some walk by river, depends what is my let's say, plans for this day.
Snježana, did you continue working during your treatment?
Yeah, during these treatments I continue working because I felt well. And they didn't affect my regular, let's say, life and the regular things until the apheresis and until the stem cell transplant. That's changed a little bit. Actually, that everything, you know, you have to stop working and you are immunocompromised and you have to go, let's say, on the sick leave. And I have the tandem transplantation, so 2 in a row. One was in January and the second was in May, the same year. And after that, it became even more shocking. I have more surprises because my percentage of the plasmacyte was first, when I was diagnosed, it was 70%, 70. And after the second transplant, it went to 80. And my doctor even were confused totally how this is possible. And during this period, I found out that I was, even though I didn't have any symptom of myeloma before I was diagnosed, I found out that I'm high risk and asymptomatic myeloma patients.
And I can imagine that it changed your life completely.
Completely, because you don't know first what is myeloma, and then you don't know what is high risk, and after this very hard procedure like transplant is, and the 2 in a row, you find out that you're even worse. So you don't know what to expect after that. But let's say very fast, I start with the DRD protocol. So I got my immunotherapy, I got the monoclonal antibody daratumumab, and after first checkup, after I think 2 or 3 months, my situation became better because I went with plasmacyte below the 10%, so it's under control. And then I start to feel a relief. Whew, I can start to live another life. That's how I saw, because in addition to my fears or my health and treatments, I want to change something really big in my life. That's what we discussed before, and that not to give the diagnosis, let's say, opportunity to change my life. I want to change this diagnosis and to make something bigger with it, not just to be a patient. And because I feel the strength and I feel the possibility that I can do this, and I want to do bigger things and to do these things for the other patient. And because the association in Serbia was, let's say, it exists before, but it was not so active, and they asked me to take over this, let's say, association, to run it in front of the patient. And this is a couple of pictures to show you, all of you, who was I before I was diagnosed. And usually when I talk to a person who doesn't know me, I tell that this is in my previous life. In my previous life, I was a very successful, let's say, businesswoman working in finance. Of course, I had a family. I'm still had a family, so this didn't change. And I have very active in sports and healthy life. And I would like to underline to everyone who doesn't have the diagnosis that it is possible. It is really possible that everyone got some kind of diagnosis, even though if you are a sportswoman or man, or you're healthy life. I was like vegan, and I ran the marathons and everything, but even then I got 2 diagnoses, not 1. I got 2.
I think someone, one of the clinicians earlier today mentioned it, that it's not a patient's fault and no one should feel responsible for being diagnosed with myeloma. Thanks, Snezhana, for sharing this. I think we will get back to your activity as the president of the association.
Okay.
But let me ask the audience, because so many of you were diagnosed when you were still working. Please raise your hands who continued working while being on the therapy. Yeah, there's quite a few of you. Yeah, it's kind of what I expected. And I think this topic would also be important for the employer to understand what it means to be a myeloma patient, that you can still continue your work. Maybe, it will change a little bit, but it's still possible. Rahul, I know that you had some experience also with diagnosis, changing jobs. Can you share some information about it?
Okay. My name is Rahul Gupta. I was diagnosed at 35. I had just moved to Poland close to an year and a half back. I would like to add something to what she just said. Before moving to Poland, I was working for an organization called MasterCard, and they had sent me to stay in a hospital for 2 days, and they did a full body master health checkup for me for 2 days. They made me do all kind of tests. In fact, I still remember the doctor telling me that he found me one of the fittest Indian that he has met. After moving here, I had some problem with my bone, and I was diagnosed with myeloma. It was a shock for me because I thought, at 35, who thinks of cancer, right? Nobody. So after that, I went through the entire therapy. Stem cell transplantation hit me very hard. I have to admit, it hit me too hard than I could have even imagined in my life. It took me some time to get back on my foot mentally as well. It was very tough. And after which I wanted some psychological support, so I reached out to some psychologist, and I found out that everybody needs a purpose in life, and I didn't find a purpose in my present job because everybody knew what disease I have. And maybe people are good, but people are realistic as well. People think, how can a sick man be of any use? So there are no ways to sideline you. They will not want to meet you. They will avoid you. They will not give you projects. They will not give you anything. There are ways we can avoid a person, right? Managers are trained to avoid sick people. I applied for another job. I almost got selected. I had the offer letter, but then same thing as somebody pointed out, they found out about my disease because they had some...
And they refused the offer.
Yes, and this is one of the most leading bank in the world. This is one of the largest bank in the world, you can imagine. His vice, the vice president of the bank also has cancer, and he posts on LinkedIn that, oh, I had cancer, but this bank supported me so much. Anyhow, this is all on paper. I didn't get any support from that bank. I got another offer from another small company, and I didn't declare my disease to them. I learned it from some intelligent people I met in this journey that do not talk about your diseases, do not talk about your sorrow to everyone. It will be a trade. Maybe the other person is very nice, very good, but at the same time, he's realistic. A sick person is of no use to anyone. You know, even though I'm sick, I can still perform. I can still be the best. But everybody looked at sick person as a useless person. They don't want to hire such a person. So I learned this from my journey. It's been 3 years in this job. I'm doing well. I'm being pushed to take on management. I have already taken on as a lead to train new people out of college in the technology. So things are going fine. I don't feel any problem and such. But think of long goals once you get the disease. Although it might sound funny, but I think keeping long goals, keeping happy memories, reminding yourself every day, every morning, why are we in this world? What purpose can we serve? Helps.
And may I ask you about your family life and personal life? It's something we discussed yesterday, that a topic that was not discussed during your diagnosis. Can you say a few words about that?
Okay, one thing which, yeah, she's right. I was fortunate that before this diagnosis, just 1.5 years back, we had a daughter. However, a couple of my friends in Germany and Canada, they had kids after the treatment. And I was shocked. They were like, okay, you cannot have kids after this treatment, right? And they're like, yeah, you can. Didn't your doctor discuss fertility issues with you? No, he didn't discuss. So that was a kind of a thing which should have been discussed. It means my life's main purpose is my daughter now. I look up to her every day. It's the main purpose of my life, my daughter. Of course, my wife as well, but my daughter is my main focus in life. So that was, as she pointed out yesterday, that yes, that was never discussed.
Yes, and it's a big topic. So the question is whether the fertility issue was not discussed with Rahul or with other patients because myeloma is considered an illness of elderly. Well, even if, then it still should be discussed because, you know, there are younger patients who can still think about having a family. So before we continue, let's have another poll question. Can we have the question on screen? This will be, what was the biggest challenge for you when you were diagnosed with myeloma? And we know that the majority of our audience was diagnosed at a younger age. So let's see what was the biggest challenge for you, whether it was the work life or the personal life or emotions or the lack of understanding from the healthcare. Okay, we should have the answers now. So yes, clearly, well, we have two winners. We have the work, career, professional life, and the emotions and isolation. I can fully relate to that. I've been there. Would you like to comment on that, Ailey?
Yeah, I think that speaks to the themes within the interview study as well, and I think makes it very clear that these types of diagnosis conversations with patients should encompass what the impacts might be for other aspects of life, and supportive care is so important around that.
Snejana, Rahul, would you like to comment?
I think psychological support is very important to every patient, not just the young one, but that's why we as organization, first grant we received from MP, we use to start with the psychological support group. And this is very important to feel that you have someone who is to whom you can talk about your illness, but you have also support group of people who are walking with your shoes, in your shoes, so they can understand you. Regarding the young people, it is very challenging regarding the work. If you want to as Rahul already mentioned, if you want to, let's say, change job or even to finish. I had my own company, and I made the decision to change this situation because I could not give my 100% of myself to both sides because I started to run the association and I could not be in my company and at the same time and work 100% in all fields. But if you work for some big company, they can give you a couple of months of sick leave or something. And after that, they will ask you, as we discussed before, when you will come back or why you're on sick leave or what is going on. And with myeloma, as most of you know, you don't know when it will be relapse and what will be next. You don't know. You really don't know. And you cannot give this kind of answer to yourself, to the closest one, the family, and not to the employer. And if they don't understand and don't give you work from home or to give you half hours working or something like that to be flexible, then you have really big issue with continuing and to decide what to do.
Rahul, do you feel your employer supports you
That time,
now, currently, that you are in remission?
they are not aware of my disease. I have spoken to many people before joining this company, and some people at very good designations where we cannot imagine to reach. They are almost the vice president of big banks and stuff, and they told me, do not tell about your disease, because they are in a role where they fire people, and they told me, although they are deceased, but they are firing deceased people because the management tells them to. And these are big companies. I'm not talking about small, short companies. They are big, huge names in the market, and they fire people. So no, I will not declare this to my present company, even no chance. Maybe I will have to hide it till it's impossible to hide. But I'm personally not, I'm a very frank person, but I'm scared to discuss it with my colleague. No chance.
Right, after what you have experienced.
After what I've experienced, after what it has been advised to me by a lot of people, intelligent people around me, when you listen to people, you kind of listen to people, right? People, what they have gone through and stuff. So, no. And coming to the psychological support question, yes, that I felt was completely missing in my journey. There was no psychological support. Yes, we were discussing the amount of medicines which are available, the clinical trials, but there was no psychological support. And I think if psychological
So
support...
nobody offered you any psychological support, right?
I reached out to a foundation, I think related to Foundation Carita, because I saw the number, and then somebody called me up. And trust me, that 1 hour of conversation 5 years back has stayed with me till today. It helps me a lot mentally to fight the disease. Yes, medicines are there, but how do you fight to it mentally? Okay, physically you are fighting, your body is fighting, but mentally also you have to... Imagine I tell you at 35, you have 10 years to live. Is that good enough? Maybe for a 70-year-old person, 80 years, oh, it's great, amazing, I will live till 80, that's fine. But for somebody who's 35, who's 40, you tell him, oh, you have 10 years to live. Now he's confused. Do I really want those 10 years? No, I don't want those 10 years. I want at least 25 to 30 years, right? Means, sorry for being a little rude. Maybe I'm rude, I'm sorry. I'm just being myself. So, yeah, you have to have some kind of a mental support that no, a cure will be there. CAR-T is the cure. You will get through it. Disease will never come back. Forget about it. So those kind of magical motivations are needed.
I just want to add something regarding job. Job is on one side, but the financial issue is the other one. So even though if you stay in your job, or if you're not, but we should talk more about the right to be forgotten. More of the people, I hope, that are, for example, aware of this situation. It is in well-developed country more talking about. I'm not sure how a situation is in Poland. In Serbia, we don't talk about this. But this is very important. If you are young, and even though you're working and you have the full salary and everything, and you went to do the, to do the loan or to do this kind of thing, they see your medical issues and they see the medical check, and then you cannot.
So you are saying that it can affect your future employment, your insurance,
yeah, insurance,
etc.
loans, everything. So it's not just about the job and how they're looking at you, but the financial issue can be a big big problem.
The overall economic impact.
Yeah. If you are 40 or 30,
True,
so
true,
it's
very
very
true.
different than you're in 80s. So it's
Valid point.
huge difference between the young myeloma patients and the older one.
And do you have some special initiatives for younger myeloma patients in Serbia?
Actually, for the younger myeloma patients, we have for all patients, but for those who feel younger, we have initiatives such as the yoga for patients. Okay, also the older patient can do it, but first they have to do the checkup for the situation with the bones, with the doctors. This is the first thing they should do, but they're doing yoga, it's online. We have walking tour, hiking tours, but this is for our illness, so it's more of the younger patient, like in 40s and 50s, they're going these tours. We have reading clubs and this is for all patients, not just for specific, but
you do not
younger
focus,
is
yes.
more like active in these activities for our patient. So even though we don't say, oh, you are 55 or 65 or 70, you cannot join. Everyone are welcome.
Of course,
to,
yeah. So I think that we have quite a clear picture from the report and also from what you were saying, that a younger myeloma patient, so a person who was diagnosed younger than average, we have quite a wide array of aspects. So it's the medical issues that are slightly different, is the work, career part of life, is the personal family life, and the psychological impact of potentially having a very short life ahead. So before we finish, let's just have one more poll question. If you are aware of any initiative supporting younger myeloma patients or hematology patients in general. We have the question on the screen. There are only 3 options to choose from. And let's see what the results are. So the majority of our audience is not aware of any initiative that is dedicated to younger patients. It is definitely a message for us, for Carita, to do something with younger patients in mind. But I would like to ask Ailey to say what they are doing at Myeloma Patients Europe.
Thanks. So I think there's a slide with some details. It would be good to be able to pull that up. We have a European Young Myeloma Patients group hosted by MPE, and I have the joining information on a slide for you. Okay. Apologies while we go through. Here. So this is an initiative specifically for myeloma patients who are 55 or younger living in Europe. We know that patient organizations and support groups can be so important to patients and get that peer-to-peer support. And being a young myeloma patient, you're already facing a rare cancer, but then being younger is a smaller group even then. So this is a way to bring together people across Europe who can share a community to lean on and share experiences with. So please think about joining the Facebook support group. We also have quarterly webinars and discussions with experts to explore and tackle issues faced by young patients. So there's a QR code there, but you can also find more details on our website. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Ailey. Thank you, Snezhana. Thank you, Rahul. And before we close, are there any comments or questions from the audience?
Oczywiście można po polsku, będziemy tutaj tłumaczyć. Dzień dobry i będziemy wdzięczni za przedstawienie się.
Grzegorz Rakowiecki, no po polsku, bo innych języków nie znam. Jestem z tego pokolenia, powiedzmy, wykluczonego językowo. Taka, w zasadzie nie pytanie, ale taka uwaga do Raula. Nie zgadzam się z tobą całkowicie, żeby ukrywać chorobę, czy przed rodziną, kolegami, bo gdybym ja był twoim pracodawcą, gdybyś mnie oszukał w pewnych rzeczach, to byłoby nie tak, bo mając tę chorobę, jesteś osłabiony, powiedzmy onkologicznie, mniejsza odporność. Pracodawca chciałby cię wysłać do Kenii, gdzieś tam i cię by wysłał i tam mógłbyś się czegoś nabawić. A gdyby o tym wiedział, to już by ci tego powiedzmy nie sprezentował takiego wyjazdu w tereny, które nie są dla nas wskazane.
So Grzegorz has a message for you that maybe you should not cut yourself out of your diagnosis so much, because maybe if you share with other people, they can give you advice, they can be more careful, etc.
Okay, thank you, dziękuję.
Przyjęta uwaga. It was accepted. Czy ktoś z Państwa jeszcze? Jeżeli nie, to ja nie ukrywam, że delikatnie się uśmiecham. Thank you very much. Mamy tutaj, szanowni państwo, i przechodzimy jednocześnie na język polski, ten czas, którego staramy się trzymać. Bardzo dziękuję za tę dyskusję. Barbara Leonardi była moderatorką, Sneżana Doder, Elit Duncan, Rahul Gupta. Thank you very much.